Some people point to the idea that in the Vedic worldview, there is an understanding that consciousness that's individuated can, at the end of one body life, be motivated by desires that are yet unfulfilled. A checklist of unfulfilled desires causes that individuated consciousness to take up life in a new body. This is what's called reincarnation. Re, back, incarnation, back into the flesh, is what that means literally. And so then to lead another life during which time, hopefully, desires will be fulfilled. And so then, this, whether we call this individuated consciousness a soul, we use another word in Sanskrit, which is jiva, J-I-V-A. It means that sense that I am an individual inside my consciousness. I'm an individual, and I have a body, I inhabit a body, but the body is not the cause of my individuated consciousness. The body is simply a means whereby my individuated consciousness can bring productive outlet to cosmic intent. Now, all desires basically are desires for more and more. You wanted a little doll, and then you got the little doll, and after a while you forgot about the little doll. And then you wanted a bicycle, and you got the bicycle, and you forgot about the bicycle with leaning against a fence rusting. And then later you wanted some relationship with somebody, and you got a relationship with somebody, but then it didn't turn out to be the 100% most fulfilling thing, and so you wanted to move on from that. And then you wanted property, and you got property, but it turned out you were still unhappy even with property. And we can see billionaires on our planet who have yachts and properties and 6 houses, each one on every continent, and have teams of people constantly cheering them on and smiling at them and saying yes. And nobody ever arguing with them, and they can have relationship after relationship after relationship as much as they want. And what we see is they're on the phone looking for the Vedic meditation master to find out how they can get happy. Why is that? It's because all these desires, when fulfilled, it turns out they do not bring capital F fulfillment. Fulfillment doesn't come from the fulfilling of desires. And there's a very easy reason to understand this. What our mind is looking for is not the little bit of joy that comes when you wanted a car and you got the car, or you wanted to have a particular sensual experience and you got the sensual experience. The reason why all of these experiences are just discarded and discarded and discarded is because there's no baseline happiness. What we really want, the desire behind all the desires, is to know really, truly, what am I? Not who am I? What am I? Apparently, I'm an experiencer experiencing things. How did I come into being? What is this mechanism that's experiencing stuff? There's a room here, there are lights around the place, there are people sitting around here, there's a couch, there's clothes on my back and all. How did all this come into being and to be experienced by something? I am the something. What am I? What am I? What is this thing, consciousness, that's experiencing in this way? There's a couch here, why isn't it experiencing? There's a shirt here, why is it not experiencing? There's some beads here, why aren't they experiencing? The wall, why is it not experiencing? I'm experiencing. What am I? What is this consciousness thing? The answer to that question can only be satisfied by a direct experience, which is ridiculously simple to have simply by learning Vedic meditation. You close your eyes, you let your mind settle down through an effortless technique, and you experience unbounded consciousness. The unified field itself is a consciousness field. This is one thing that most of the top physicists in the world are convinced by. The most successful theory of modern science, not just physics, but all of modern science, is quantum field theory and its offshoot of quantum mechanics. The basis of all our digital technology, the basis of our smartphones, our computers, the basis of all of our communication, the basis of almost everything that's highly advanced about our civilization, quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics can deliver phenomenal technology. But if you look into the principles that drive it, it asks you to commit to one particular reality. And that is that there's only one thing. There are not as many as two things. In quantum mechanics, we can demonstrate in lab science, beyond any reasonable doubt, that particles can only exist if there is consciousness expecting them to come into existence. Without consciousness expecting the particle to come into existence, the particle simply does not exist. This means that particulate nature, that is to say, just to be very specific, molecules which build up and to make, that are built up of atoms, and then molecules going into all of the various carbon structures and whatnot that create the physical world around us, can only exist if somebody or something is watching. There has to be consciousness in order for there to be any matter. This is what quantum mechanics declares. Without consciousness, there is no matter. And so then the basis of all of that has to be a unified field of consciousness that has expectation and also therefore has another very subtle reality, intention. Intention. The unified field is intending something, and it brings into existence this entire highly complex, sophisticated universe. And in some little points on the universe, life, as we call it, life. You know, the ability to experience oneself as individuated, the ability to experience oneself as a being. And so, what is the purpose of it all? What's the purpose of this existence? In order really to understand this, we have to be able to go into that deep, unbounded nature. And when we do that in our direct experience in Vedic meditation, we awaken to the truth, to the reality. Once that deeper inner reality, I'm one indivisible whole consciousness, and I'm enjoying the storyline of all the relativity. Once I realize that, then there's no more need to, at the end of a body life, to go into another body. Because, why? There's no more unfulfilled desires. That one fundamental desire that is at the basis of all other desires, that one desire to know what I am and to have that reality, that's been established. Once that's established, there's no need for that consciousness to go back into another body and try to fulfill desires again. That's all done, all finished. You know, once the tongue has tasted honey, then some sweets lying around here and there, they don't appeal anymore. The mouth is full of honey. So all these little things that bring happiness, little tiny traces of happiness, when the mind is saturated with the happiness of self-knowledge, then the inquisitiveness about what more could be experienced if I fulfill another desire, it just naturally melts away. This is the end of the process of reincarnation, enlightenment.